Hey guys, it's Jon Holling here, and this course walk is brought to you by Ride IQ. Make sure you stick around to the end for a special announcement. So the first combination on the four short is the Mars water here, and we jump in over a hut there. The horses actually are likely going to land on dry ground, but they positioned it in a way in that they aren't going to know that until they're in the air. So the horses are going to think they're jumping in the water, and then as they're up in the air, see they're on dry ground, and you do just wonder a little bit, are they going to put their feet on the dry ground or are they going to reach out into the water? Once you're in the water, it's actually quite deep. So I walked through it for the first time today and I was impressed at how deep that water is. And so I think, you jump in, you have to give them the freedom of their head and neck to reach and look and be able to make a nice shape over that hut. But then you also have to be supportive enough in the contact and leg on to be able to help them maintain their balance in the footwork as they come through that deeper water. Okay. So after you get into the water, you have to start making your turn, and you're going to have to decide how close you want to be to a mound over here, and how much time you need to get out to what is truthfully a very big corner on the way out. And I think the other factor here is the crowds are going to be starting to filter in. There's going to be a lot of people, and how focused are these, what in theory are slightly younger, slightly less experienced horses than the 5-star, could be for a lot of them their first time seeing all these crowds. So it's a lot for the horses to take in, especially early on. You've only had 3 jumps to this point, so you really got to come out. Derek is making sure that we're coming out of here guns blazing, really hyper focused. So I think what we do in the warm up is going to be super important as well. You make this 180 turn. You got to protect the left side. I'm going to have my stick in my left hand. I would assume a lot of the riders will, and try to just make sure you know exactly where you need to get this turn done so that you can hopefully put your leg on moving up to this big corner, because it is a big corner. And if you miss your line, it can get quite wide out to the right side. So you really do have to be on it. That said, once you land and turn left. I think you got to get that turn done. And then you get up out of the saddle, put your leg on, pedal to the floor, because your next fence is a big galloping effort. We're here at the Sunken Road. This is fence 10ABC on the 4 short course. It is going to be a very influential fence, I think, for the competition. It comes after a pretty long downhill gallop, and you really have to appreciate this fence almost as a coffin. So what we're going to do is come in here. We need to jump a little bit right of center at the mim rail here at A. It is a 9-foot bounce down a bank, and then it is 4 strides on a bend out over a right-handed corner. So you have to be able to gallop down that hill, right? We're trying to be competitive. We're going to stay up against the stringing on the left-hand side of this opening here, where they open up stringing or open up the laneway for us so that we have a good shot in. I think it's going to be really important we get a nice square turn. And really, we want to be creating the most bouncy, elastic, rideable canter that we possibly can. And be careful that the horses don't get too round with their heads low. They got to be up. They've got to be up and super, super rideable. We want to get a nice, clean, crisp jump in here at the rail. And then I personally think you have to be a little bit soft and trusting as they land so that you don't get the mim rail behind. I think the horses are going to be quick to put their hind legs down. And there's going to be some 11 penalties here for horses activating this mim fence. Pop off the bank. You're really going to be aiming at one of the 2 trees there that they've put in the ground, which are right in the line you'd love to be on. That's funny how they always do that to us. And you're going to want to be brushing up right against the left-handed one. And then your horses don't have a lot of time to get their eyes on that brush corner. Once you're there, the right-hand side is very open. The corner itself is not as wide as the corner that we had at the first water, which was a left-handed corner, but it is double brush on top of it. I think it's going to make the horses get up, and the approach is much more difficult here. So it really is going to take some rideability. The other thing you have to think about here is the options. So you can see 10A, the rail, and 10B, the bank, have a black flag option. So for The rails, they've given us a cabin over here on the other side. And the flagging is really kind of tricky here for this competition because the flags for the 5-star and the 4-star look very similar. The 4-star flagging makes you jump a cabin here, a little hut going from right to left as I look at it. And then you're going to make a 90-degree turn and come and jump down this other section of bank here, which then puts you on a much more friendly line to the corner on the way out. So if you're being competitive, which I think everybody in this division is going to be trying to do, you're not going to go to that as your first option unless you've had trouble earlier on the course. But we've got to know all those options so that we're prepared for anything that could happen. Especially if you go later in the day, sometimes things will happen where you'll just watch a fence, ride, you think it's going to go one way, and then the horses just don't read it. So it's going to be really important for all of us that we know all of the options as we go around the course, not just so we can salvage it if something happens to us, but also so that if you find like, hey, the bounce isn't riding well, you know the other option, you know the other choice. So there's a lot for riders to take care of out here and to pay attention to, a lot of details that are really going to matter. And again, I think this is going to be super influential at this point in the course. I think you're going to have people accruing penalties all throughout this combination. I think you're going to have some MIM activations, some frangible activations here. I think you're going to have horses just not reading that corner over there, not getting their eye on it, and maybe just showing a little bit of greenness. But it's a beautiful combination, and I think if you can approach it on a horse that is prepared and balanced and organized and really between hand and leg, this should ride awesome. We are here at the Springwater. This jump is situated in a way that we have just turned our horses towards home one complex ago, and they do know. So I think the horses are going to be pretty positive jumping in. The log itself is pretty substantial as you're approaching it, and then you get the drop on top of it. I think the horses are going to make a very big effort here. Now, I always like to know numbers through these complexes so that, honestly, I can sleep the night before because I like having a plan. But once you're in here, I think you have to be creative. You have to let fences come to you, and you have to react to what your horses are going to do. You're going to see horses coming in here, adding and jumping in carefully. But I do, again, think you're going to see a lot of horses coming in here and jumping in with a lot of power. Assuming you get a good shot in, I like thinking about being positive up the hill to the first wedge brush on top of the mound in 6 strides. Now, I'm not going to be surprised if there's 5s and if there's 7s as well, but I like to have that idea so I know, all right, I got to be positive, because from the wedge on top of the mound at B to the second wedge at C, that actually walks in about 4.5 strides. I think that's going to go in 4. I think they're going to power through here, and that the best rides are going to be those that are positive at taking you forward. And I think Garrick wants to reward that sort of riding here. So plan A would be 6 strides to 4 strides. That said, it is bold and it is accurate. So you've got to make sure as a rider that you keep it feel, your leg is on into your hand, and that when you land off of B, you don't try to get pretty and supple them through and sort of get them. You just land off of B, point them at C, hold the line, and let the footwork work itself out. They have given us some options. So for our fence here, we have to jump the log, but we do have an option at B. If you get a jump in here at the log that you don't like, and you think there ain't no way I'm making it to that skinny on the mound, you can bear right, head back down this lane to your right, hook a hard left, jump the same type of fence, a narrow wedge with brush on the back of it, heading from my right to left as I'm looking at it, which then takes you to the same C element on the way out, really far enough away that I would say that's pretty unrelated numbers-wise. So you can be quick thinking here. Obviously, that option is there as well if you have a problem at the straight route at B. But I think if you're smart, you're going to know when you jump in at the log here that, yes, I've got this and I can make it out over B. Or no, I didn't have the jump and I needed bear right, bear left, and get the clear round with maybe an extra 5 or 10 seconds of time here. But a clear round is going to really be invaluable, I think, at the end of the day on Saturday. So again, I think a positive ride here is going to be rewarded. I think that's going to be plan A for most riders. But again, I think this is one of those combinations that could be quite influential at the end of the day. We are here at the park question, aka the coffin. This is 18A, B, C, D, and the coffin here at Kentucky is always super influential. So the first thing before we even get to the park question itself is that the fence before this is actually somewhat related. It is a massive oxer on a downhill approach, and Derek has been very clever putting it there because it is going to open the horses up. They're going to land quite open, probably slightly on their forehand, and the riders are going to have to do a primo job getting them back on their hind leg, collected, and refocused on this frangible rail. From the rail, it is 18 feet down to the ditch, and it is a substantial drop. So you're going to see the riders needing to be brave here, have their legs on, but you can't open up too much in the air and sit back, or you're going to risk having the frangible down behind. That is just a reality of our sport now. It is part of the deal, so we have to be aware of that. When we land, it's got to be leg on, get to the ditch, and then I think it's going to be 2 strides on the bend up over the C and D element combined at the angled rail on the way out. So C and D there, if you go the straight route, are 1 effort. If you don't like this plan, he's giving us loads of options. So you can see at 18A, we have a black flag. They've given us an alternate black flag over here behind us that you can come around, jump off the right rein. You can pop that and then bear left-handed, jump the right side of our ditch, go around behind the CD element, and we have 2 stumps that we can jump individually. So you jump the first stump rather, from our right to our left, go into the stringing, make a nice 180, and then back out over the D element stump, heading towards home. That full long option is going to take a lot of time. At this point in the course, I don't think we're going to see a lot of people going that as their first choice. I think you're going to see people trying this. If you get a jump here at the straight option A, but you don't like the feel, you could bear right, if you're quick thinking, jump the ditch and still get away with a clear effort by jumping the stumps at C and D individually. There's a lot to think about. It's going to require really quick thinking. Horses now are, probably 5 minutes or so into the course, a little bit more than that. And so I think they're going to be a little bit tired. They're going to be a little slow to react. And the rider's going to have to be very quick thinking here to get this done. So plan A for me would be coming here, jump this just slightly left of center, get the 1 stride down to the ditch, hold, stick in your left hand, slightly open right rein, let them pop in 2 strides, jump that CD element as a 1 effort option, bear right, make sure you get the correct path through the stringing because that would be a bummer. And then you gallop on to a nice table up the top of the hill and just 1 more combination from home. Ride IQ is a tool that I recommend to all of my students. It's great because it can help you to make more of the time between your regular lessons with your personal coach. And you can take those lessons with me, which honestly is pretty fun to do, or any of the other coaches here on Ride IQ. Ride IQ is going to be coming out with a special offer next week, so click the link in the description below so that you can get that when it comes out.